Hey there, you're listening to the Girls Talking Life podcast, and I'm your host, Johanna. If you're like me, you love time with friends. I always leave feeling encouraged, inspired to try something different, or I've learned something new. So why not continue to grow even when we can't be with our girlfriends? We're not made to do life on our own. So in each episode of this show, I'll bring you a girl and her story to give you refreshing ideas to stir your soul. Let's walk this road together. Are you ready to talk life? Welcome to the show. I'm so glad you chose to spend some time here. And Happy New Year. We made it. Ushering a new year felt different this time. There was greater anticipation for something new and fresh and a clean slate. I hope you're feeling expectant to the year ahead like me. I am so glad to be back here with you, and I've got so many things to tell you. If you listened to the show in December, you heard Jen Collins talk about the Mama Needs subscription box. Well, I'm so excited to let you know that the Girls Talking Life conversation cards are going to be part of her February box. You may have gotten the free download where you print them and cut them at home, but these are professionally printed and packaged, and they are also special with mama-themed questions. The February theme is Mama Needs Friendship, which goes along with what we're talking about perfectly today, and you can order until January 31st at mamaneedsbox.com. Do you choose a word of the year? I've done it for maybe the last 5 years, and after a couple of times doing it, I added this little Bible study component to get more out of it. I wanted to make it more meaningful. And if you've thought that too, if you feel like, I have my word, but now what? If you'd like to study what the Bible says about your word, I am sharing my Word of the Year word study with you. Your word, or some form of it, needs to be in the Bible for it to work. If you get the Girls Talking Life newsletter, you already have a copy in your inbox. And if you're not a subscriber, you can find a link in the show notes for today's episode to sign up, and I will send the word study to you too. Okay, last update. There is now a Girls Talking Life community for you to be a part of. It's an extension of the show where we can connect and continue to grow even when we can't be with our girlfriends. If you are looking to connect, to join in the conversation after the show, and to encourage others as we all grow in our faith, join me there. Let's walk this road together. Okay, on to today's episode. It's going to be just a little bit different. Normally I bring you a girl and her story, but today it's just me and a little of my story. But I promise that I'll be back here next time with not one, but 2 guests you'll love. Okay, on with the show. You may be setting goals like I am for the year. I usually sit down and see where I'm at with the goals I set last year. I see what I need to work on and what I've accomplished, and then I set new goals or I recommit to the goals I always seem to be working on. I usually have them separated into categories, and those categories for me for the last couple of years have been marriage, parenting, spiritual and physical health, money, home, and friends. I noticed that 3 of these 7 are relational. I think I've had invite friends and neighbors over for dinner as a goal for every year I've done this. Sometimes I do good at inviting and sometimes I need to work on it. I've also had different groups that I've met with on a regular basis. So a goal might be monthly dates with friends for breakfast. I realize that things might still look different this year. Nothing magical happened when we jumped into 2021. I have friends all across the board when it comes to the pandemic. Some who are not seeing anyone in person right now and some who are gathering pretty normally. This is obviously going to need to be taken a person-by-person basis, starting with you and where you are with gathering, but there are still ways to reach out and connect. I hope you'll consider adding friendships or community building to your goals for this year. As I say at the beginning of every episode, if you're like me, you love time with friends. The heart behind Girls Talking Life is providing girl time when you can't be with your girlfriends, but ultimately I want to encourage you to be in community with the women in your actual life. Gather, have conversations, create meaningful connections, and listen to each other's stories. But sometimes that's easier said than done. Friendships as kids, students, college students, they're easier to come by. Fast forward to adulting and it becomes harder. I remember being in college and wishing that I could graduate already. I had stayed after my first 4 years to get my graduate degree, so that was 6 years of sharing space with other girls, most of whom I loved, but I was so ready to have my own space. But the part that I didn't think about was how when your built-in community is gone, you have to go looking for it. You have to make time and schedule it. Add a husband and a home and a family into the mix, and that becomes really hard. I can remember feeling lonely for probably the first time ever early on in my marriage, not because I wasn't spending quality time with my husband, but I had a need that he couldn't fill. He can't be a good girlfriend to me, nor should he be. I had a few close friends during that season of our life. One in particular became even closer because we were pregnant together and we got to bond over all the miraculous and scary changes happening to our bodies. But after being pregnant comes a baby, and that adds a whole new level of difficulty for keeping thriving friendships. A few years later, now I have baby number 2 and we moved to a new city. Part of the reason for our move was to be part of a church that our friends had planted, and that was the beginning of a really fun, close season of friendship for me. It was a small church, mostly of young families like us, and lots of sweet girls to befriend. The day after we moved into our new space, a girl from church stopped over with lunch for us and to help us unpack. I was meeting her for the very first time when she rang our doorbell, and honestly, it was a little awkward to invite her in and accept her help. I'm sure for her too. But she is now one of my very best friends. We were part of that church family for about 4 years, and then that season ended too. And it was so sad to see the church end, but what was really painful was the absence of that community that we've been a part of for several years. Just like college coming to a close, I didn't have that built-in time. I wasn't seeing my friends on a regular basis for church on Sunday or small groups during the week. We've moved on since then to a new church and a new neighborhood, but nothing's been easy about keeping those friendships strong or making new ones. But my heart is for a relationship. So that's a big part of why I created Girls Talking Life. We're not made to do life on our own. And then 2020 happened. Words like quarantine and self-isolation and social distancing were thrown into our vocabulary. How do our friendships thrive in that? I recently heard a teaching from a pastor that I love where he unpacked 1 Corinthians 15:58. And I'll link the whole sermon in case you're interested in the show notes. That verse says, "Therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, stand firm. Let nothing move you. Always give yourself fully to the work of the Lord, because you know that your labor in the Lord is not in vain." So how do we stand firm? Well, we stand firm by doing the work of the Lord. So what's the work of the Lord? Well, it's relational labor. It's the work of friendship. We need to work on the relational drifts that have happened because of the chaos that we've been in all of last year. In this passage, Paul is writing to the Corinthians in uncertain times. Hello, 2020. He's not sure how things will play out. He tells them to stand firm. And standing firm takes intentionality. It's not passive. When things are crazy out of the norm like they have been, we don't step away from God or deliberately break relationships, but we can drift away. Things have been complicated. We got to figure out working from home, hybrid schooling, wearing masks, you fill in the blank. And these things take up our time and our headspace. We are probably drifting away from some things we used to do, especially getting together with friends. There's nothing wrong with virtual friendships. I'm so thankful for my online connections and how technology has helped us be together during quarantine, but you need in-person relationships. We are hardwired to crave them. So why is friendship hard? I asked some women what the hardest part of female friendships has been for them, and here are some of the answers I got. The number one answer is probably time. One woman says, time to really invest. I'm a person who loves deep and meaningful friendships where you authentically know someone, but it takes time. Another woman said, I think the hardest thing about female friendships is being able to spend time with them and find friends that share your interest, especially with kids. Another woman said, the hardest part for me is that it seems like everyone I meet already has their set group of friends, and none of them are looking to recruit a newbie. And finally, I heard from a woman who said, they're just in different walks of life or they have different points of view. So why am I telling you that adult friending is hard and that because of the last year it's even harder? Well, I want you to know that it's not just hard for you. And I want to help you get back on track. So over the next several episodes, I'm going to bring you incredible guests and also some resources for you. We are going to be talking all about cultivating community, creating meaningful connections, and building lasting relationships. I cannot wait. I want to stand firm, I want to do the work of the Lord, and I want to help you do that too. Relational labor isn't passive, it takes effort. We are made to be in relationship. Some initial guidance is to say yes when you're invited. I have some friends from college who live a few hours away. And when we're invited to go there, it's a 2-hour drive and we're probably going to sleep on a pull-out couch. But we always say yes and go if we possibly can. And second, be the inviter. People aren't always going to invite you in, and sometimes you have to be the initiator with the invitation. On each episode, I asked my guest for her favorite 5 things, so I could not end the show without telling you what my favorite 5 are right now. In no particular order, number 1 is preparing my coffee pot the night before and setting it so that when I come down in the morning, my coffee is ready for me. I know that this is probably ridiculous and you've probably been doing this for years, but just last year, I discovered what a gift it is. So every night, as long as I remember, I make my coffee, set the coffee pot, and when I come down, I have this fresh brewed coffee. I literally can wake up and smell the coffee in the morning, and it makes me so happy. Number 2 is the Bible recap. You may have heard me talk about this podcast already. It goes along with a chronological reading plan, and the podcast is a game changer. It's hosted by Tara Lee Cobble, and it walks you through what you've read every day. I've never been so motivated to open my Bible. In fact, here starting in January, this is going to be my 2nd time as I travel through and read it. If you are interested in joining me, please do so. I would love to know if you are doing this, and I'll show you exactly how to get set up with the podcast and the reading plan. Just let me know. Number 3 is the Faster Way to Fat Loss program. Last summer, I joined my friend Abby Miller's new client group, and I learned things like intermittent fasting and how to track macros. There's all this nutrition information to learn, and she's with you every step of the way. Plus, I have access to daily 30-minute workouts that are so doable. I lost pandemic inches that I wanted to get rid of. I get better sleep. I have more energy. And the most exciting thing for me is that I am gaining muscle. I feel strong and I love it. Such a great program. If you have any interest in making this change for the better for your health this year, I would love to put you in touch with Abby. I have an affiliate link, so if you do choose to sign up with her, I will make a small commission that will go right into this podcast. Number 4, Madewell jeans. Okay, I know we're not really wearing jeans a whole lot, at least I'm not. I've been in yoga pants quite a while, but anytime I get a chance to go out in public, these are the jeans I reach for. They are as comfortable as sweatpants, but they hold everything in all the right places, and I can't wait to get another pair. My 5th favorite 5 is geranium lime body oil from Pure Haven. This oil smells like a vacation and it feels like a spa treatment, and it moisturizes my skin for the day. I put this on while I'm still in the shower, but after I've toweled off, and it is fantastic. The best part is that Pure Haven's products are 100% free of toxins, so I don't have to worry about anything bad being in there, and I get to treat myself. So those are my favorite 5 friends. I hope you have enjoyed hearing them. I will also link to them in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this special episode, and you'll consider where you might need to do some relational labor of your own. Think about friendships that have drifted and women that you might like to enter into new friendships with. If getting people together, being the inviter sounds daunting, I've got many more shows coming up dedicated to making that easier for you. Next time, I will be talking with Kendra and Kristen from the Ruth Experience. You're going to love our conversation on community building. And if you're ready to jump into those friendship goals I talked about earlier, they have a free resource you can get right now. It's 5 ideas for creative friendship goals for the new year. Okay, I have told you about so many things in this episode, so definitely click over to the show notes in your podcast app or go to girlstalkinglife.com for all the links, resources, and ways to get plugged in. Hannah Gillen, a writer for Parent Q, says, having friends is good and they are good for you. Therefore, if you are passionate about self-care, then you should be making friends and enriching those relationships. Investing in friendships is investing in yourself. If you have a friend who needs to hear this encouragement too, please share the show with them this week. And friends, don't let the conversation stop when the show is over. Share your stories and start your own conversations with the girls in your life. Happy New Year! I will see you back here in 2 weeks. Thanks so much for tuning in.